What am I saying? Hi there, I'm Beth, and today I have an exciting smart doll unboxing. I was very lucky to be able to purchase one of the very few Qingyi smart doll white skinned dolls that were released recently. She's just arrived, so I will quickly unbox her, and I have had just enough time to prepare an exciting dress for her to wear that I thought would suit her. So I'm going to show you how I made that, where I got it, and we'll have a look at her in all of her glory. Okay. The porcelain white body is made using all soft sofubi parts. Let's look at her wig first. There we go, parting straight in black, and a doll stand as well, as usual, and a care card, postcard. There we go. Her wig almost looks like a really dark brown actually, rather than black, but it has a center parting, and they don't make the flipped round, the more difficult to attach wigs anymore, so this has a good bit of stretch and shouldn't be difficult to install. She is very, very white. My friend Sandy did warn me that it's quite a reaction in person seeing the white for the first time, and she was right. Wow. Oh, she is gorgeous though. Absolutely love her face. White wasn't a super must-have for me initially, but it's this face-up. It really reminds me of Kabuki, a comic book that I've loved for years and years, and I thought I just had to have her in my collection. I love the bold lip colour and the red around the eyes. Oh, she's absolutely gorgeous. Here she is with her wig on, and I wanted to mention the underwear as well. She has a new elastic type with kanji on the band, and it says Mirai Cybernetics at the front here, and this says Smart Doll Kabushiki Kaisha, which is the Japanese equivalent of like a registered company, a corporation, or like how we have co at the end of a business sometimes. And she's absolutely stunning. Her eyes, oh, her dark hair, really, really striking. So we're going to have a look at how I made her dress and what she looks like in it as well. And of course, I'll be having some stain prevention clothing underneath the dress as well. She's amazing. I made her stain prevention undergarments using my own sewing patterns, and they're in two pieces. So there's a pair of tights or leggings that cover the feet and extend up and tuck into the underneath of the bust, and a top. I've made a short sleeve version and a long sleeve version. Qingyi's release was a bit of a surprise to me, so I decided to quickly purchase a sewing pattern for a lovely 1/3 curvy adult BJD Qipao from the lovely Requiem Art Designs. I printed it out on my cute little thermal printer, cut out all the pattern pieces, and then read all the instructions well and tried to choose some fabric to use. I like to trace pattern pieces quite accurately, so I carefully cut out the bust darts and front and back darts as well, so they could be accurately traced onto the fabric. The sewing pattern gives you options for a shirt, a short dress, or a long dress version. I opted for the shorter dress for my first try, and I've chosen this basic black and white cotton. It was a fat quarter, but I didn't have quite that much left, but I had enough to make a short dress. There are some really small, fiddly looking pieces for the trim that's going to be like the piping or the edging around the shoulder, the cuffs and the hem of the skirt. And it's not that I have a problem with authority or I think it's too hard, but I thought it would be much simpler to just cut strips of the contrast fabric I wanted to use and then trim away the excess after I've stitched it, because the pattern calls for you to fold it up top stitch it into place and trim away any excess anyway. Once the very narrow piece of trim has been stitched to the shoulder, I laid the front part of my dress over the paper template so I could line the shoulder up and pin it in place before top stitching so that the front shape of the dress is as it should be. I can then trim away any excess seam allowance and finish off the seams on the inside. I effectively do the same with both of the sleeve hems, and I'm using iron-on hemming tape to finish them nicely inside. Next up, I'm going to stitch the bust darts at either side of the front and join the front and back dress at the shoulders. The collar pieces each have a lining piece. They're stitched together along the curve and turned out, but turned out leaving a little piece of the lining showing all round. The two sides of the collar are stitched together just at the bottom. This helps us line them up in the centre and pin them from the centre out before stitching on. This gives us a really nice little collar. I love the piping effect. Using a running stitch, we gather the top of the sleeves and then insert them the right way around according to the pattern. Before closing in the sides of the dress with right sides together, I'm going to pin and carefully stitch the darts which are at the front and back of the dress. Here they're all done, and I've already sewn the sides of the dress closed, but I'm going to trim some of the seam allowance and overlock it. Now, where the pattern calls for us to add 3 smaller sections of trim to the bottom of each dress panel and have you match them up carefully when you close the sides, to me it makes more sense to join the side pieces first and then add 1 continuous length of trim. At least it makes sense to me, so that's what I've done for my dress. I've then top stitched it and tidied up the inside with some more hemming tape. All that remains is to close up the back and the closure part of the dress. The pattern has a nice clear marking of where the closure starts and where you should sew up to. So I stitch the lower portion of the back of the dress and overlock the left-hand side and turn and finish the right-hand side. For my closure, I chose to add snap fastenings, and with a little reinforcement along this seam, I poke a hole with an awl and just push the little knobbly part of the snap fastening through before stitching in place for a really minimal kind of look. The sewing pattern gives us 2 different options for creating the frog closures, one simple knotted version and the other involving twisting the cord around pins and gluing it to set. I tried a few times to make the glued versions and they came out pretty well, but it occurred to me I might be able to use dissolvable interfacing and a kind of couching method using matching coloured thread to create the frogs in advance, then transfer them onto the dress when I'm happy with the size, and simply soak the dress a little to dissolve the interfacing. I really liked how these turned out. And that's how I made my dress. I'm really happy with the pattern. It was my first from Requiem Arts. I'm really happy with the changes I made, although of course you could follow. They have 2 versions of the instructions. One version is quite simple and simplified, and the other they call the insane version, which I suppose is what I did. So that was really funny, and the instructions were really clear. I would definitely recommend it. I want to say a huge thank you to all the lovely supporters over on Patreon, and a huge thank you to you all for watching until the end. I really hope you enjoyed today's sewing project and unboxing. I really hope that those who missed out on the short availability of Qingyi will have another chance. I do hope there are some more releases of her because she is a really spectacular doll, and I'm really happy to have her in my collection. I'll leave you with a few photos of her in the studio, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care of each other, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.